Hey, welcome to the 516 Project Midweek Devotional. We're really excited that you've joined us today and look forward to sharing a great message with you. All right, thanks for checking back in on another Midweek Devotion. So we are excited to be with you today. You know, like I said, we want to do these as a way to encourage you kind of middle of the week in between Sundays, way to just have that fill up in the middle of the week. You know, at 516 Project, we want to be the light of God in the world. We want to be shining brightly for others to see. That's where, you know, we get our name from, is Matthew 5:16, which is let your light so shine before the world, they would see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And so we just want to make sure that you're filled up, because we know if you set a lantern there and it doesn't have fuel, it's just going to sit there. It's not going to do anything. And so we want to make sure that you're filled up. You've got the fuel. You've got the information to go out and be a difference maker in the world and really shine your light brightly. So today we were very excited to have Megan Billingsley with us from WPER. How are you doing, Megan?
Grand. I'm on my second coffee for the day. How are you?
Doing good. I'm still on my first coffee. I started a little late this morning.
Slacker.
So give us a little bit about you, just a little bit of your story and the WPER tie-in and everything, and we'll kind of start with that.
Sure. Well, that's my even being at WPER is quite the God story, because I worked in radio straight out of college. That was just something. I needed a job, and the radio station right up the road was hiring. So I worked for WJFK for almost 10 years. And I loved it there. So it's like 106.7 The Fan is now what it is. But I worked there for a while. And when they moved from Fairfax to Maryland, I was traveling 90 miles a day, twice a day. So I started looking just because I needed somewhere else to be closer to home. I was spending 20 hours a week in the car. And I drove by WPER every day, the little trailer in Warrenton. And I was like, I just wonder what they're like. And I met Teresa and Vicky at a concert when I went to go see Third Day at Hilton Chapel back in 2012. Randomly ran into them and I was like, hey, here's my card if you guys ever need anything. And that started conversations with Frankie. And 6 months later, I was in the door. So it really was like a God-ordained sort of thing. They didn't have an open position, but he wanted to bring me on. So he found a place for me. And then over time, it's just grown. Never wanted to be on air. I'm not a morning person. So God's got a real good sense of humor in having me do what I do here.
Well, you fake it well, because I know I listen to most mornings and fueled up on coffee and ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's awesome. Tell us a little bit about kind of your background and what drew you to, when you did start having those conversations, what drew you to wanting to be a part of Christian radio?
Well, I'd never actually considered Christian radio before, because I grew up on the kind of Christian music that I never ever wanted to listen to on purpose. It was all like my dad's music, and I didn't enjoy it at all. So I was actually interested just to hear that there was actually Christian music that I could listen to and enjoy. And so that was kind of what drew me in the first place was, this is music I can get behind. And then I think beyond that, I loved being in the radio world, but the idea to be able to do something that really made a difference, that impacted the people who were listening and helped to change lives, that was really, really cool at the time. I was in a place in my walk with Jesus at the time where I had just recently gone through like a walk to Emmaus. So I was feeling really on fire for stuff, and I wasn't feeling that fulfillment Monday through Friday. So this gave me an opportunity to, to really feel like the stuff that I do makes a difference. And it kind of also made everything make sense. All the classes that I took randomly, radio classes, because I needed an elective and that one was open. And then the job that just happened to be hiring down the street, like all of those things all of a sudden made sense. So it, like, they were no longer random events in my life. God was preparing me for something.
So cool when you start to see that picture, even though you're living it, but you don't see it as you're going through it.
Nope.
I definitely, I have a lot of parallels to that in my life, from where I came from, where I'm sitting now, as to how this all happened. And same kind of things. It's like all these seemingly random coincidences all were really part of a plan that I just didn't know about yet.
Exactly.
Well, hey, and I'm going to do a quick plug here because I typically wouldn't do this, but I know I've heard on air that y'all are looking for the next on-air personality. So if you're watching this today and you're thinking, there's been some things in my life that have kind of seemed random, but have led me toward, talking and radio and whatever, check out WPER's website because they're accepting applications right now. And I think, you have to submit a 90-second video. Is that correct?
Yep.
So yeah, so hey, maybe you could be the next on-air personality with WPER.
I mean, our air personalities come from the unlikeliest of places, so
Yep.
You never know.
Very cool, very cool. Well, hey, at this point, I'll let you just kind of jump into the devotion and the word God's prepped you with, and we'll let you take it from here.
Sure. Well, it's funny because what I was going to talk about was kind of my life verse today, which is Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only be still. I have it 4 places in my office. It's on a painting here. It's on a sign here. It's on a sign over there that you can't see. And I literally have it right in front of my face. And I think it's because I tend to be a fixer. I tend to be a doer. So every situation that I run into, I'm like, okay, how can I get through this? You may call that a go-getter or a trucker or whatever, but I just try to do whatever I can to fix the situation. But there are times when I just need to sit back and let God take care of that for me. And there's a couple of things that kind of came home to me recently because number one, we're living in the age of COVID. I can't fix that. I can't fix the fact that our lives are completely flipped upside down from where they were a few years ago. So that's literally something where I just have to kind of sit on my hands and wait on God in this season. There are things that I can do, like I can use my words to encourage others. I can refrain from participating in Facebook battles on politics. If that's my contribution to the world, then so be it. But really it is a season where I have to sit back and let God fight. But also, even COVID aside, there's just strange battles in my life that I've never fought before. And that could be, battles of wariness, of loneliness, of uncertainty, things that I've never really dealt with before. Because I'm a pretty peaceful person. I just kind of trust that God's going in a direction, but whatever directions he's going right now just have me weirded out. So I'm in a season of learning to trust him quite a bit. But Christine Kane posted something on Facebook the other day. She said, if God has called you to be somewhere, he will be faithful to get you there. And to me, that really hit home because, even just feeling that things are unsettled, even in the office, things that were great. It's a wonderful ministry. But just as it is with every organization, every place that you work, anybody on the planet, there's going to be situations at work that kind of make you question whether or not you should be there. Things that make you question, are you where you're supposed to be? And I feel deep in my heart, no matter what, I feel like God has called me to be here. Clearly, because of everything that he's done to prepare me for this place right here, all of that had to be carefully orchestrated by God. Every skill, every experience that he gave me led to me being able to do what I do here for the people listening to WPER. So I go back to trusting then that if God brought me here, God's going to continue to have a purpose for me here until he moves me on to the next place. And I feel like that speaks to a lot of people right now because you may be in the same position, whether you have lost your job because of COVID, whether you're having trouble finding employment, whether you're questioning, is this, wherever you are, is this still where you want to be? And I think that that's something that we just have to keep going back to is, well, what has God been showing me? Where has God been leading me? And I think that it's really hard sometimes to really kind of settle in that place where you're fully letting God take the wheel. I'm not good at that. But Christine Kane posted another thing. These two things hit back to back in my timeline. So they both were kind of like, all right, God, what message are you trying to give me here? She said, it takes strength, courage, tenacity, resilience, endurance, faith, hope, and love to fulfill your calling. There is no easy path. You will encounter disappointment, failure, discouragement, hurt, betrayal, and loss. But if you keep going, you will discover the faithfulness of Jesus. And to me, that even ties back into my life verse, which is if I just keep pursuing what God has for me, if I just keep pressing in, keep practicing strength, keep practicing courage and tenacity, and I just let God fight for me in these battles, and instead I just keep doing what he's called me to do, then I'm going to see that faithfulness returned from him day in, day out. And I think that we could all just keep that in mind, because right now we all are digging into our extra stores of strength and our extra stores of endurance. I feel like that is the word for 2020. We're not thriving in 2020. We are enduring 2020. But in living in Christ, in fulfilling whatever calling he has on our life, then we can thrive. Is it going to be great every day? No, but that's okay, because Christ is in every day. And so I don't know if that encourages you today, but if you've ever found yourself questioning where God has you, if you've ever found yourself questioning where God's leading you, I think just reminding yourself that he is there fighting for you, that every encounter you have has a purpose, every experience that he provides you with has a reason behind it, that there's a purpose behind it, then I think that we can continue to see his faithfulness over and over again. It's kind of like one of those old sayings, like, if you look for it, you'll find it. If you look for the bad, you'll find it. But if you look for the good, you'll find that too. If you look for the faithfulness in your day of where God is being faithful in the little moments, you're going to find it. And so I think that right now during 2020, that's something that we can all really tap into.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I like the we're going to endure it. That's there's been several days recently where I've just felt like, okay, I got to get through today, and tomorrow's new. Tomorrow's new. We got this.
Exactly.
But and it was interesting too. You were talking about kind of the path to where you are now and everything, and even though you're working in a Christian environment, and it's a great environment, but there still are struggles, and I think that's something that a lot of times. A lot of times we don't think about, I guess. As I know, with me moving into the ministry and getting 516 project going and everything, there was a lot of days where I just thought, oh, this is going to be easy. It's going to be perfect. Everybody we're dealing with is Christian, and that's not the case. And don't get me wrong, it's great, but there are still those struggles and still those things that come up, and personality conflicts and whatever. So you still have to lean into that stuff and approach that. I think one of the you mentioned about being wondering if you're still where you're supposed to be, and I'll be very blunt. I've had those moments and those days where I come in here and things are just kind of going off the rails, and I'm like, all right, throw in the towel. I'm out. I'm done. But God always he always settles me back down. But he's put some people in my life that that I can be open with and honest with, and say, hey, I'm really struggling in this area right now. Please hold my hand and walk me through this, or let me cry on your shoulder, or whatever it is. So I think that's important too, is to find those people in your life that you can lean on in those times, that are gonna they're not gonna just give you that, oh, it's okay, it'll be fine, but they're actually gonna encourage you and help you through it, and not just try to sugarcoat it.
Also having people call you on your stuff, like if you're stuck in a pity party and someone can actually point that out, that's really powerful.
Yeah,
to have them speak life to you in those moments.
Absolutely. And you mentioned too that there's no easy button, and that's something my wife and I were just talking about. I think it was probably maybe a week ago. I always had this picture in my mind that, and this is growing up as a kid, that when you're an adult, you're an adult. You've got this. Everything's smooth sailing. You're an adult then, and every couple of years as I got older, I'm like, wait, I thought I was there, but no, I'm not there. Thought that, and I hear it now. I'm 38, and I'm still not there. And I'm like, wait a minute, when do I get there? Like, is there an arrival date somewhere?
Well, I'm 40, and I'm not there, so no.
So I think we got to remember too that you never get there. It's always a journey, and you always got to lean in and trust God's plan, and know that He's like I said, all these seemingly coincidental things are adding up to something. And you might not see it as you're in the middle of it, and it might suck, and you might just be in the middle of just some crud, and that's okay, because eventually that's going to come out to something amazing. I forget what song. There's a song, and y'all play it all the time, and I can't think of the name of it.
Is it the one about Jesus?
Oh yeah, that one. Yep. But no, there's one that talks about that. It talks about if it's not good, he's not done. It's the Corey Asbury, isn't it? Um,
So you're putting me on the spot now, and
I
I'm gonna fail
know.
this test. Corey,
I
he's
feel bad that I brought it up. I couldn't think of what it was. But anyway, there's one. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm pretty sure it's a Corey Asbury song. But anyway, but one of the lyrics in there is that if it's not a good yet, he's not done with it yet. So I think that's something that we have to remember too. Is we got to remember that God's always working, whether we're in the crud or we're on the mountaintop. And so we just got to remember that and pull through on those times.
Brene Brown would say you have to embrace the suck, which I think kind of makes sense. If you just embrace what you're going through and believe that God's working in it, then you're going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Megan, thank you so much for jumping in today and sharing with us. I really greatly appreciate you being on.
My pleasure. We love everything that you guys do. 516 Project, just awesome stuff. We're excited to be a partner of yours as often as we can.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a huge blessing to us to work with y'all and have y'all come out and serve on projects and do stuff over the air and everything. So it's definitely been a great partnership to share the love of Christ with our community.
Cool.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you'll tune back in next week. Got another cool guest coming with us next week to share God's word with you. But for now, that is all, and we will see you next week. Hey, thanks for tuning in and checking out this week's devotional video. Really hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. Look forward to having you back with us again next week. Remember, make sure you're following along on our social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. You can also text 516 Project as one word to 77222, and that way you'll get our text updates on what's going on. And if you stop by 516project.org, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page there and sign up for our email newsletter. Thanks again for watching. God bless you, and look forward to seeing you next week.